Another thing we did, the county was excited about, we partnered with the hospital actually on some demolition. They were redoing cabinets or something. And we saved 16 tons of cabinets and office equipment from going into the local landfill. So that's a partnership we have with the Habitat over in San Luis Valley. On to the next slide, please. So this is our stakeholder grid. POSD was actually the first to discount their tap fees for Habitat Archuleta. I don't know how many years ago. Archuleta County has donated 20 tax lien lots to our organization. The PLPOA waives build permits, just like the county, and different fees that stack up there too. Town of Pagosa Springs, we've gotten a few grants from those guys. The tourism board as well. We're partnering with the CDC on the infrastructure and grant funding, and then also if we could put some of our applicants that we're not building with into the CDC homes, so they would be reaching under 80% AMI as well in their project. And then LPEA, we did a pilot project with them last year. We do solar on all of our homes to preserve affordability for our homeowners. And we try to cut it to where they just have that base access fee from LPEA and then water, and that's their utilities for the life of the home. So yeah, that's LPEA pitching in. On to the next slide, please. These are all our supporters, the small businesses in our community that have gone to bat by discounting services. I wanted to point out, because I know Colorado Dreams Homes is presenting soon, that they.
Thank you for taking away the more stuff that my husband hoards.
Oh, that too, yeah. Yeah, we're helping out with that. That's similar to our demo project. We sell it at the Restore over in the valley. But no, I meant when you guys sent your staff to work on our job site in 2022.
I'm more appreciative of it.
Imagine, well, it made a huge impact that year, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, anyway. So these are all our local supporters that are self-employed small businesses and that. On to the next slide. We are an enterprise zone opportunity project for folks that discount their products and services for us. And lastly, our request. We appreciate POSD's partnership, and we're hoping that you could waive the capital investment fees for water and wastewater on our 2024 builds. Any questions?
Nope. My only is, now that you've moved up to 3, do you see maybe moving up to 4 or 5 in a couple of years?
So we have to do a year of 4 because the first year in our 5-year plan, as planned, we did 2. So it's 2, 3, 3, 3, 4. 3 is a lot. We're hiring another staff person to manage the construction year round, starting May 1st. So once they're trained up, it's possible. Our organization is definitely growing. It was 1.5 people until I came on, and now we're up to 2 people because full-time to part-time to retiring, you know. So we'll be 3 as of May 1st, and then July 1st, if we get our capacity building grant for a loan officer to package the USDA loan, so I don't have to do it anymore. We'll be at 4 staff members. So yeah, I can see it in the realm of the possibility.
Well, I mean, I just think between the 2 of you, it's not hard to see a lot of Chris Mountain as much as we can. You know.
Yeah.
And Charles,
The entrance. Yeah.
you know, they're just,
Right.
they partnered out there, so.
Yeah.
And did I understand you correctly that all 3 of these would probably fall under the 80%?
Yes, yeah, that's what our program mandates. And then Habitat for Humanity in general, the mortgage payment, PITI, everything for their housing needs to be 30% or under of their gross income.
Any more questions or comments?
We do have Gary wanted to say something.
I just wanted to thank you when we were in a pretty difficult meeting last time, which I appreciate because we're just imposing tremendous fees on the community, that you've had some kind words, and it's kind of a little bit of a life raft. So
Yeah, it's been a hard spot because I've got supporters on both sides of the room, you know, so. Yeah.
Gary.
Wanna add something?
Well, yeah, I want
My name is Gary Williams. I'm on the board of Habitat for Humanity, and I'm also a town council member. And when I walked into this room, I was just so pleased to see everybody who supports affordable housing.
Mhm.
And I know we all want the best for our community, and I know you guys are being asked to give more than a lot of other people at a time where we know what your problems are. So we appreciate your contribution. I think Habitat's doing a great job, and I think we can move the full houses. So, and in this part that Leah brings up about being a resource, not only for Emily, but for USDA loans for other people. And that could help your staff, it can help town staff, it can help school teachers. So it can help us all, because it's not just affordable housing, but it's quality of life we're all interested in. And we all provide public services, and we have to have good employees to deliver those public services. And to have good employees, they need to be happy with where they're living. And so I think that's a critical part of this whole thing. And then I was gonna talk on everything, so I just support Emily here. The town, the county helped make all this happen. And so we've had CDC around for a long time, but only for a little while, we've had Emily Lashbrook. And so, we can talk about affordable housing, talk about this and that, but we have this unique opportunity in town to use her talent, her energy, her connections to make this work. And we've got to support her in that. And I really appreciate, and I know you do. So, thank you.
Warren wanted to say something as well.
Thank you. I'll keep it brief. Appreciate the time, Mr. Chair, board members. Mr. Ramsey, Mrs. Lewis, thank you. I appreciate being able to address the board. I appreciate you taking the time to seriously consider this. And this is a difficult position that I know that you're in. I have to tell you, I'm kind of used to your chair. And it's hard. It's hard to make something out of nothing. And it's hard to provide the services that are needed in your community, but yet we move forward. As I looked around this room, I've seen a number of people that I've helped build Habitat for Humanity homes with. Gary, other folks that have brought food that are not only saying that this is important, but they are participating in making it happen. I come here today as a former business owner in Pagosa Springs for a number of years, as a single county commissioner that has been in office a little over 3 years, and also as a previous government employee that was in administration. As a former business owner, I can tell you that I know firsthand how difficult it is to hire and retain employees. And we learned quickly, my wife and I did, that we had to provide benefits in a package. Man, is that overwhelming. We paid $25 an hour and up. It was a 4-day work week. We had vacation. That's a lot to ask. And yet we still had difficulty hiring and retaining people, let alone good people. As administration in a government, I can tell you that we repeated the cycle of recruiting, hiring, and training over and over again. Because as soon as these folks would get trained up to a level where they could go 60 miles and have a lower cost of living and make another $30,000 a year, they did it. And what happened was another community benefited from our investment, our financial investment in that individual. And I can't blame them for leaving. I can't blame them for wanting better. This is just where we were. As a county commissioner, I can tell you that I understand how we are affected by our growth that we're experiencing and all of the pains that come with that. One source of this is our workforce housing, our middle housing group. We have programs for the lower income. And I think that this community has done a fantastic job, but we have not addressed our middle income. And I'm going to read to you the titles that I had on here before I came in here. Our truck drivers, our hotel staff members, our EMS, our wait staff. Many of these are our middle income folks. That's what this is about, middle income. The county has taken an earnest approach to help incentivize public and private projects through this initiative by way of donating the 55 lots that you have heard. The county's invited stakeholders to participate and to partner with this project and provide opportunities for privately owned companies to begin addressing the housing crisis in a real way. I'm not a fan, and nor do I think it's the government's responsibility to provide housing, but we can provide the seed that begins this project. As a representative on the Pagosa Springs Development Council, which I am, I see this venture that's being presented to you as cutting-edge approach to address our workforce housing needs. This is a momentous occasion, and this project has to succeed. One of the most amazing attributes of our community is how we all come together when we're in a time of need. I encourage you to make the best decision that you can for our community while I understand your position. We're going to continue going down this road, and it benefits us all. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there anybody else that wanted to make a, yes?
Yeah, I'll just stay back here, if that's all right.
Sure, you bet.
So my name is Jim Garrett. I'm an attorney here in town. I am a member of the CDC board. I'm not here to speak for CDC. Emily has done that far more eloquently than I could. I am here as sort of a fan of the CDC, of PAWS. I first started following the affairs of this community in about 2005 or 6, about a year or so after I came through on a motorcycle and realized, holy cow, this is where I'm going to be. Well, back then, I'm glad Director Walsh mentioned Dry Gulch, because back then, that was my introduction to the CDC. And it was a disaster. I remember I had a little fun. I sent some comments to Bill Hudson's Daily Post back then regarding the Dry Gulch project. But you know, there is one thing about that Dry Gulch project that shouldn't be overlooked. It demonstrated PAWS' eye on the future. Because that was the rationale. It was, we got to watch the future and be ready for it when it comes. And that's why they wanted to do that project. Now, yeah, it was ridiculous in terms of the way they were going to fund it. But the thinking, the motivation was positive. Now, I didn't want to say that I know this board supports affordable housing, workforce housing. I know Bill, I've heard what Director Walsh has had to say. I know Gene Todges from back when I used to be a Pagosa Springs Sun reporter. I know Justin Ramsey very well. I know that this board is a thorough, thoughtful board. I suggest to you that the CDC's project is more than just a great project. What it is a trailblazer. It's a proof of concept. It will show the community that it can be done. What it takes is commitment, shared commitment, and it exemplifies shared commitment. And I know this board is going to want to be part of that, because I know this board is dedicated to this great, great community. I have a couple of general asks. Please continue to keep an eye on the future. Please. And I thought there were some very interesting comments by Director Walsh about the possible contributions that might be made by things like the fire district, other districts. Please strategize with the other public authorities in this district to help make this happen, to help make affordable housing work for this community because we so desperately need it. Please make sure that your computations are very carefully and thoroughly done. And again, I have absolute confidence in Justin Ramsey. I'm sure you're not just operating on a wing and a prayer, but please just make sure that we really need every penny. Please consider the possibility, and I am a ratepayer, I am a member of this district. Please consider the possibility that there may be some ratepayers, your ratepayers as a group may be willing to help pay, to accept a rate increase, may be willing to see a tax increase. Look at all the support we have in this room tonight. We got the county commissioners here unanimously. We have the county manager here. We have members of the town council. Pull together. We can get this done. We need to have it. Responsible taxation policy in this community. I can't imagine, we've never had better motivation in my experience. So, and lastly, this can't be unique. This problem cannot be unique to this county. I wonder if you could possibly appeal to your regulators, not to back away from the environmental, but is there some way in the public interest throughout the state that they can maybe supply some support, that they can come to bat with the rest of us, because that's what it takes. It takes a shared commitment, and I'm glad to see we have it here tonight. Thank you so much.
All right. Any comments from the board?
I was just hoping to, I'm not gonna take too much of your time. I'm Brooks Lindner. I am the town council rep on the CDC board. And I'm here tonight in support of our workforce housing project. There's nothing more I can add to Emily's excellent presentation. I did want to say that I empathize with you guys. I understand that you're struggling with these decisions, and I really appreciate your consideration in all of this. I just wanted to reiterate the ask. It's either that you waive the CIF fees for our 10 homes for this year, or that you grandfather in the 2023 fees for us for that project. And one other thing I'll say after listening to you tonight, I would just add that, you know, I understand your focus on the 80% and lower. I think that's commendable, but please don't not do this for us just because that is your focus. We do have this need for this middle 80 to 120 in our community as well. So thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. Board, what do y'all think we ought to do?
Let's do the next agenda item.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if we approve the 80 and below, which we've talked about our focus, and then obviously we can't approve it. It's not an agenda item specifically. And then the 80 and below covers habitat. It covers the first year, 80 of your 10 houses. And then we're left with 2, and then is it a good bet for those 2 for everything that's being brought by this particular project? I'm gonna say yes, but I'm just one vote. I think, you know, approving 40, which I'm sympathetic to, would be like a very difficult multi-year legal thing, but you know what you're doing.
I agree, and that's why I modified my request, because we don't know what we don't know. I don't know what kind of funding is gonna come out of this Prop 123. There could be funding in there to help you to help us pay those fees and it be okay, but for this year is not okay.
Right, that's what I would keep in mind. There
Yeah.
are some funding line items that they come out of Congress, and they will specifically line out paying fees, in which case then we'd be better as a community taking that money and moving our, town, county, hopefully fire district, pause support. The school district can't, even though, because of the crazy funding mechanism with the school, which is the money is simply taken from the community and it bears no relationship necessarily to the money to get us back. So they're in a hard situation to help us. But I think county, pause, fire district, town, that's a good start.
So the item that I think we're gonna be talking about is our current affordable housing policy. So I wrote up a resolution that was in the packet. And it needs to be changed. So the resolution that I wrote up was aimed at 80% and below.
Right.
And it also has some typos in it. It mentions the raw water fee, which we no longer have. So we need to take that out of our whereases. And just remove the references to the raw water investments. And just talk about the capital investment fee. And I would also like to change the resolution to be the 50% waiver for things between 100 and 80. With the option that the board could consider a complete waiver for a project that shows broad community support. So I would say that I would like to see the resolution revised to allow for that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I was supportive. I mean, I think we have to recognize that we have some big bills that are being imposed on us. And there's an element of fear about whether our CIF will actually collect 99 paying CIFs next year. And so I think we do sometimes conflate, and I think rhetorically I've contributed to this in years past. So, say 100% AMI home with 100% AMI home with a 30, 33 or 38 year deed restriction. I mean, they really are different. And just like I complimented, thanked our wealthier citizens who move here, the construction market is a market where people are buying 50, 100, $150,000 parcels, putting on $400, $500, $600, $700 home packages, and then more for landscaping. It's a different market. So we're really relying on that market, but many of these projects simply don't happen without massive community and federal and state support. So they're not really affecting our CIF revenue. Now we have built into our CIF projections, roughly 12 water, 8 sewer. And that has to be collected, because if we don't collect that, then we just have to raise the rates and rates, because we don't have a lot of discretionary spending. So, but I'm not really terribly concerned that once we raise the money that we intended to raise from the surcharges, if you're very successful, and we get 5 more a year, as long as they're in District 1, they cancel out. When they're in District 2, there's going to come a time where we can't really afford it, or we're going to have a different type of cooperative agreement with the community, which helps us afford it, which is possible, which hopefully with some goodwill here will happen there. So, obviously I said that I'm fine with 100 AMI with the 30-year deed restriction, so I support that. But I do think we kind of need to exercise a little discretion in that 80 to 100 range, so that we get 80s and make that what you're suggesting to them. We don't get all 100s. That's just the way it works out. We get the same discount. to 100, except for, we get a lot of 99.97s, and not very many 61.
So that's why I'm suggesting that it's not 100% waiver.
So,
between
so,
100 and 80.
so currently it's 25.
Right.
Currently it's
You want
25.
to, so you want to increase it to 50.
That was my suggestion. And I'd love to hear the rest of the board. And it sounds like Glenn has weighed in.
Well, no, I guess what my decision would be, I really like the 100% at 80 and below, and that's a real increase in our commitment. The 25% between 80 and 100, I'm very, like, for projects that really have broad community buy-in like this, I'm very supportive of, but I would like to keep board discretion in that range. I'm probably,
Like to keep it at 25?
and yeah, I'm probably the easiest mark, and I'll probably always roll over for it, but I would like to think I would exercise some discretion. But I'll probably sign on to whatever the maximum, but I mean, the 80 and below is kind of I mean, I think that's kind of what the minimum I was hoping to get for the community. And I think that matches with our CAF projections. And, but if we're not gonna get a lot of projects that are gonna come bringing this kind of community benefit and this kind of community support. And I'd almost like to keep our discretion so we can throw more money behind this project. It's actually perfect. If you look at the impact of projects that don't happen here and don't happen in Aspen Village, we're gonna be the bad guys elsewhere, unless we can get a lot of support elsewhere, because we can't treat waste at $3 a month. Right. It penciled out that everyone's paying a fee, because we've structured our fees, and they're gonna be ridiculously high for everyone, but we've structured them to cover operations and make their co-op, we thought it would be 50%, maybe it's more like 45% to grade 85 compliance. So as long as you're paying those fees, you're really helping. Now, if you're wealthy and you come to town and you're paying those fees and you're also paying the 25,000, you're really helping. But these projects, this First Mountain pencils, as well as being inspiring and all that. So, I'd rather keep board discretion at over 80.
Okay.
I'm not immune to Brooks's suggestion that you could get a organic, further game-changing expansion up there that might be a little broader mix. It might average down to 90, but you might have a couple of 110s, but more, a couple of 75s. So I'm happy with 80 and below, and board discretion above 80. That we're very open to. Okay.
I'm happy with 80 and below too, but I guess I'm confused, which is pretty normal for me. Now, I understand there are different models, but I think I heard Bill say, USDA, has 1% loans. And I think I heard Emily say, you're not sure if USDA is applicable to your model, or could they be?
It can be for people that are 80% and below. So if I have a couple that come in and they're at 81%,
Okay.
they cannot use that product.
And the other thing I guess I'd just like to bring up, because I've got a lot of friends in this community out there, many decades here. I can't help but think in the back of my mind, especially in the 80 and below range, some people just can't afford a house. Should someone, we're in the water and sewer business, should someone be thinking about apartments? Multifamily things. Because there's a lot of people, I know personally, and I suspect you all do too, that are way below 80. They're below 60. And they are just not able to afford a house. They could very well in the next 2 or 3 years, but now they can't. And there's not an apartment one, I would guess, in this town available right now. So I guess I'm concerned that
you got needs here, here, and here. Where does this board need to focus? Who, you know, who can we help the most? I guess that's my concern.
I would like to share with you, we have had contact from a developer who is looking at a piece of property in the county, in unincorporated county, that is looking to bring in 100 affordable apartments. And he's kind of waiting to hear what our new policy is for pause and to see if he's going to put a final offer on that. I believe he would like to hit that 80 and below, and he would deed restrict those apartments for, I believe what I heard is 15 years. I don't want to speak on behalf of him. I just have had a conversation. So we do have some interest out there that is willing to come in and build an affordable product because that's the business that they're in. And they hope they know how to make that work. So they're out there. They're just waiting to see where pause lands here today.
Again, probably a silly question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. So the only way CDC can get access to that USDA money would to be build slightly smaller homes and just save every penny wherever you can on utilities or you know, whatever. But that's the only way you're gonna be able to do it is to reduce the size of the.
No, actually, as we heard from Leah, you can qualify up to $575,000 in certain situations. So it's not necessarily the price of the home, it's the person and the family qualifying at 80% and below. It's not the house, it's the family.
It's the
And
income.
if the family can qualify for USDA, then they have some real financial help from the federal government.
Thanks for the clarification, yeah.
So
That's what my concern is.
Now, the smaller homes, you want to build those smaller homes for someone who doesn't qualify for USDA, but, you know, they're at 81%. Oh, well, you're gonna have to buy a smaller home because you can't get that 2% or 1% interest rate.
I think it's just helpful if Leah told us what some of the house payments are for Habitat House.
Around 1,200, 1,400 per month. And
So,
they're appraising up toward $500,000. We sell them. So it's a difference of when you're paying a 1% interest versus 8% or 7%, whatever the market is today. That's $800 a month that you're paying. That's like money going straight to the bank, not for principal. So it makes a big difference in the borrower's purchasing power, like their maximum loan amount, if they only have to pay 1% interest every month versus 5% interest every month. It's like $800 easy. Yeah.
that's that issue of rent versus owning a home, because getting a 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment in town for $1,200 might be difficult, you know.
You're getting $200 and it gets 328 series apartment over there might be challenging, at least when they first open, so.
And home ownership makes more stable communities, you know, we want.
Oh, absolutely, but I've been there.
Yeah.
Some people aren't ready for home ownership.
No doubt.
For whatever reason.
And for years, to be fair, we did move to an EU or a TAP calculation, where if you, like for the last 7 or 8 years, if you did build an apartment house in Coast Springs, which had integrated utilities, we would give you a commercial rate, so you might be able to put 50 apartments and get it in there for 22 EUs, water and sewer. And the only people that took us up were like multi-million-dollar developments, unfortunately. I mean, it's a good development, but it was not really our kind of an unintended consequence. So.
Can we hear from Paul? Is that okay?
Did you raise your hand?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some
Okay.
real advantages with the fee structure for apartment buildings. And I think the way that, you know, when we made those rules, we just thought, well, an apartment building just has 1 yard. And so, you know, all those apartments aren't, you know, individual houses where they're sprinkling a yard and that kind of thing. So the water use is a lot less. But you know, I'm wondering now if we should make it more, you know, advertise what our fee structure is for apartments so that developers know that it isn't an EU per unit. And so they don't have to really worry about the low income, qualifications of it. That sounds like an apartment that's condominiumized or something. But yeah, this town does, it's the low income problem isn't going to be solved by, building houses. It's going to be solved by, a whole series of different things, apartment buildings and, possibly, like park model or trailer courts or stuff like that. And everybody's got to kind of work together to decide how and where to put that. And if we want to do it. And so I guess that's how I feel about it. But yeah, I'm kind of wondering if we shouldn't keep our low income housing discounts the same that they were as last year. But I would like, before we jack up the rates, to have a public hearing, make sure that there's not a bunch of people out there who get upset if all of a sudden they get hit with an extra $3 on their water and their sewer to cover the cost of, the low income stuff.
Well, I mean, the problem there is, we included a surcharge for 10% of our units in our projection of CIF. So that was embedded as, so our choice is to increase the surcharges to match the increasing CIF, or to get rid of affordable housing discounts altogether. So our real problem is not that we might have 3 or 4 or 5 extra units, especially if they're in a great project that pencils out, brings in millions of dollars in infrastructure and pays $1 million a decade over it being located somewhere else. It's not because they're very different markets. I think our real problem is and I bothered, Renee's busy enough, but I bothered her this week, and she and Aaron did the research, and it's right there in our capital investment fee that, our surcharges have to cover, roughly 8 to 10 different enterprises, 8 to 10% of our CIF, and we don't do that, then we just have to throw it all on, more on the CIF or all on the base. We're kind of, we're aiming at a 50-50, though there might be opinion that is not 50-50, and we'll find that out later. So.
Well, I figure it costs about $5 extra to tack on our rates for our customers if we do this.
The other thing that everybody's got to realize is PAWS is a non-profit thing. So we take it out of one pot and it's got to come out of some other pot to fill that pot back up. So it's, we're constantly dealing with that.
Also determine what that's gonna be, you're gonna have to give me numbers that we can throw into the model to determine what that is. So we've been using 12 and 8. But we're right now we're looking at 14 a year. 13, 14, so we need to increase that.
My point, which you can accept or reject, is we need to charge the surcharge so we fulfill the CIF projection we make. I do not think that if this project is even more successful and we get 5 more houses at 80% paying, full sewer fees, that there's really any cost there, because there might be a correlation once you get to 100, 120, 140, now you start bumping in one another. But an 80% house with a 38% intersection is not affecting our new construction market, which CIF is based on. They're different animals. Now, we do have, I've asked around, I've never found a person, so I'm gonna come to town and I'm thinking about we saw 725 is the average purchase price of an existing house. What do you think is the median cost of new construction that our CIF is based on? 900,000? So I don't think, I understand we need to keep the surcharges and we need to increase them because we have to fulfill the CIF projection one way or the other. But I don't think we have to worry that we're going to be too successful in workforce housing.
Ron, you got a question?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I couldn't hear Director Hanson earlier on when he said, what part is a nonprofit?
Pause.
Is it nonprofit? I thought we were taxing Indy.
He's being illustrative.
Right, right.
Correct.
Sorry.
But
I just wanted clarity on that
Yeah.
and understanding because, yeah, I know they're taxing Indy.
yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Epson.
Well, for a long time, builders were kind of curious if there was some people sitting in the background that were collecting up a bunch of money because it was so expensive to do water connections that we were wondering if where all that money was going. So I had to get on the board to figure out that it actually has places where it's going. And there isn't anybody collecting a bunch of money.
Well, I think if we accept the work that Bill and Renee put in, that covers habitat, it covers 8 of the 10 this year. And then we can reconsider the 2 with a presentation specifically, those 2 related to the, what I would say is the kind of unique community benefits this project is bringing. And then going forward, we'll just, we'll kind of have a template or a model to say, well, we did go beyond 80 for this, but look what it brought. And that will give us more leverage. And I do want leverage. I'm getting the feeling we don't need much leverage with the county, but they're with us. But if we need leverage with the fire district, we need leverage, so to make things happen in that 80 to 100 and then, range.
well, I'm gonna make a motion,
Okay,
that we adopt this resolution, removing any references to the raw water acquisition fee. We accept the definitions that are already present in the resolution. And that we grant a full waiver of capital investment fees for low-income housing and workforce housing as defined. When the housing has a deed restriction that preserves affordability for at least 15 years. We waive half of the capital investment fee for anything between 100 and 80. But that the board has discretion when a project is particularly supported by the community to waive the fees completely for 100 to 80%. That's my motion referencing resolution 2024-03.
I mean, there are a lot of attractive things about that, and this is another thing I'm kind of a dummy on, but there are some specific.
But I don't have a second.
I will second.
I'll second.
Yeah.
now we can have open for discussion.
There are also some loan programs, I think Leo was telling us about, that kind of, the sweet spot for them is like 84% or 85. Wasn't there something you were telling us, some hit it, so we might hit, like people are doing everything they can to bring it down to 80, but the actual mechanics of the program bottom out at 83 or 84. And, that's again, somewhere where we would say, okay, and we get the buy-in, and we get the buy-in from fire district, and we said, yeah, that's one where, we will exercise that discretion. Even though maybe it doesn't bring the wealth of kind of grant and infrastructure benefits of this. So I think you pulled together a lot of strands that is not necessarily your ideal program. I think you put together a good compromise. So I'll support it.
Gene, what do you think?
I really feel the need is at 80% and below. Don't get me wrong, these are absolutely wonderful projects. I just believe in, and I've talked to a few of our of our customers, constituents, and I get